What's up, YouTube? This is your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now this week there wasn't very much going on politically wise. There wasn't no big news or anything. We all know the far leftists and their face, Joe Biden, Pedo Joe, is trying to destroy America and traditional family values and what has made America the greatest nation on earth for the longest time. They're trying to destroy all that. We all know that. So anyways, I'm not going to bore you with any of that crap. What I want to talk to you is about this week is why paranormal TV shows most generally get things wrong. There's very little that they do get right. And this includes YouTube channels as well. You typically have three different types of paranormal TV shows. And I'm excluding list channels or like Paranormal Caught on Camera, or listing the top 5 or 10 videos of ghosts caught on camera or whatever. I'm strictly sticking with like paranormal investigative shows. There's usually three different types. The first one is usually done for entertainment. Typically I'm okay with this if they let their audience know, hey, I'm actually doing this just for entertainment, for shits and giggles, for fun. I'm okay with that. One of the main YouTube channels that I tend to watch every now and then, just because he's fun to watch, even though he's not, taking it seriously. He goes out and ghost hunting, but he does it to where he's not, trying to do it for research purposes or anything. He lets his audience know, I'm just having fun with this, blah blah blah. I'm not trying to come. And he's respectful to the spirits. He don't try causing, riling them up or trying to cause them to be negative or anything like that. And that's Omar Gosh TV. Omar goes in there, every now and then he'll use a spirit box or whatever, and I'm okay with that. He's okay to watch from time to time. That's okay. But then you have your television shows that blatantly do it out of disrespect to the spirits. One of these, the biggest one, is the one known as Ghost Adventures. Ghost Hunters with Jason Hall and Grant Wilson pretty much started the paranormal TV show aspect, even though paranormal investigations have been going on for quite some time. They're the ones who started like the whole TV show thing and made it popular. Zach Baggins and his couple little buddies, college buddies, they thought it'd be fun and funny to create their own little investigation team, and for shits and giggles. They've not taken it seriously. So they would go out, and rile the spirits up and make them angry and everything else, which is wrong. You shouldn't do that, especially for the family that lives in these places or people who work there, But they were doing it on purpose, just to try to get a scare or rise out of the audience for ratings. And then, Ghost Hunters investigated him, busted him, faking a lot of their paranormal activity. Now, Ghost Adventure fans got mad about this and then tried to blame Ghost Hunters and that they were the ones actually faking everything, when that's not true. It was Ghost Adventures. Zach Baggins is a piece of shit. and so is his crew. But I really can't stand Ghost Adventures. You know, they're terrible. You shouldn't watch them if you want real paranormal investigation. But moving on. Yeah, that's your first one. And then your second type of paranormal TV show is the one where it's reenactments. They're telling about their experiences, and then, you know, you see a reenactment of their supposed experience. Now, you don't know these people personally. You know, you have to take it with a grain of salt, some of the stories they tell, because it could be true and it might not be true. You just don't know. I don't care for these shows at all, because they don't have any evidence to prove what they saw or back up what they saw. Like, they didn't catch it on camera or audio. So like I said, you got to take it with a grain of salt. And then last but not least is the type of show that is the ones that take it serious, actual paranormal investigation, that take it seriously and try to do actual research. Now, this has been going on for quite a while, but these are the more of the shows that I'm interested in, when they actually try to do some investigative work. Now I'm going to list some of the things that they do that is actually completely wrong, and then I'm going to go over a few of the television shows that you probably might enjoy, and that some of them that you probably should avoid. The first one is the problem with a lot of these shows, and they always seem to have one or two people on the show that do this. They're screaming or freaking out over every little noise that's being done, or they're hearing, or you know, they're just freaking out. They're screaming and they're running in the opposite direction instead of going towards it to see what it is. And it really irritates me when they do this. Not because, you know, they're scared. It's because the simple fact is, if they're hearing a disembodied voice, you can't hear what the voice is saying because they're screaming and hollering. So you know, that's another thing that really irritates me, is when everybody's talking at once, you can't hear what the voice is saying. So that's annoying. The camera flying in the other direction as they're running, you don't see nothing but the ground and their feet. That's annoying. You know, I can't stand it. If you're going to be a paranormal investigator, you have to stand there sometimes and be quiet for hours at a time sometimes. So hopefully you can catch some. Anyways, that's one thing that really irritates me about most of these shows. The second one that gets on my nerves, and when they start going, oh, it's a demon. Look, the obelisk said it's a demon, blah, blah, blah. Or the spirit box said it's a demon, blah, blah, blah. It must be a demon because it must be evil. I feel an evil presence in here. No. No, no, no. No such thing. There are bad spirits and there are good spirits, not demons. Stop that nonsense. You either have an angry or upset spirit who's taking it out on everybody else. They're not evil and they're not a demon. I'm sorry. It's bullshit. Don't listen to that stupid shit. That's nonsense. Another thing that really irritates me is when they claim the Ouija board you know, caused all the problems. It opened a portal and let all these evil spirits into the house or area that they're... Fuck off. Ouija boards are not real. What I mean by that is that they have no real connection to the spirit world. None. None whatsoever. In fact, if you can even find these videos on YouTube, but they're all over the internet. Ouija boards have been debunked over and over again. They don't actually work or whatever, you know. It's not a spirit controlling the board and shit. It's not. It's someone in your group. Literally, they've proven that over and over and over again. So it really irritates me when I see YouTube channels or fucking paranormal TV shows bring up Ouija boards are a thing, because they're not. They're just for entertainment. They're not real. They don't really work that way at all. So stop listening to anybody who says a Ouija board's the problem, because it's not. Has nothing to do with it. People who use this, if you want to use it for a laugh or a joke, fine, what the fuck ever, but it's stupid, because they have nothing to do with the spirit realm. Another thing that really gets on my nerves is possession. Oh, they've been possessed, blah blah blah. Possession is not a real thing. This too has also been debunked, even though the church claims that there have been possessed. No, there has not. In fact, they've actually done more harm than they have good. They've actually killed people with these you know, supposed Christian rituals to eradicate a possession or an evil spirit out of a person. These people who claim that they're possessed or either have a serious mental condition, or they're doing it to you know, get attention. They've literally proven that. So possession is bullshit. No such thing. The next thing that irritates me, obvious. A lot of times, you know, it's just a bunch of random words in this box, and supposedly the spirit can use them words out of that dictionary, which I find kind of stupid. I don't see that being possible. You know, it's just throwing up random words. And then you're going to say, well, I've seen it where they posted up a word that the obvious said. Such a hard word to say. Who the fuck named it that stupid shit anyway? That's a dumb name. Obvious. But anyway, you know, them words, they cut out all them other words that it's saying. If you look sometimes when they show it on the camera, oh, it said this or said that, you know. If you look, there's like 5 words before it that they don't show, because it's just randomly throwing out words. And then when they do get a word that they think it may be something to do with what they're talking about, they're showing the camera like, oh, look, it said it was a response. No, it wasn't. It's just a random word. Stop that nonsense. Same thing with the spirit box. Now, I absolutely do not trust any of the apps. They don't work. I've tried them 100 times. Not one app has ever worked for me. However, S7 sometimes does work. It's kind of hard to debunk some of the things that, you know, says. Yes, it's random words to radio channels, but some of you'll get sometimes get direct sentences and shit from the spirit box. So that one's a little bit harder to prove. I don't mind that one, But the obvious, no, I don't trust it. Then you have the one thing that really, oh my God, I get so sick of seeing this. I understand you can physically be touched sometimes. I've never actually, and I've been doing this for a long time, I've never actually experienced it myself, but I know people who really have. But I hate when I'm watching a show or something and they're like, oh, he's tugging at my shirt, blah blah blah, you know, I feel a tug on myself. People can't see that. They can't really tell. You know, hopefully you're telling the truth, but you know, you don't know these people on the television show. They could be just saying that for entertainment purposes. It's annoying. Don't do that. Do it off camera. If you're going to say, well, something touched me, do it off camera. Don't do it on the show. Unless where they physically get touched and you see marks on them. That's a whole different story, because then you have actual evidence, proof that you were touched. And it's always like scratch marks, like 3 of them in a row, right? You know, parallel to each other. I find that kind of odd. But at least you have evidence that it actually happened. You know, and I hate when they go into a room and then go, oh, this room makes me feel bad, horrible. I can't take it. It's making me sick. I gotta get out. Something bad happened in here. I hate that shit. Stop with the feely crap. Like every time you go in a room, oh, there's a dark presence here. It's making me feel sick. I can't take it. I gotta get out of this room. Fuck that shit. I hate that shit. Oh my God, I hate. That is the worst. The whole I feel that there's something in this room and it's making me sick. Stop. Just stop. Fuck that shit. Now I'm going to talk about some of these paranormal TV shows. Ones you should probably go ahead and watch, that I recommend, and then others that you should completely avoid. So the first one I'm going to talk about, everybody knows Ghost Hunters. They set the bar. They're the ones who started it all. Blah, blah, blah. Then you had the Copycats, Ghost Adventures. Ghost Hunters is actually a really good show. They actually do real paranormal investigative work. And they don't run from shit. They actually chase shit down. And they try to do a lot of debunking as well. So that you know what is, you know, hey, this could very well be this, you know, or that, you know. Now, Ghost Adventures copies these guys, and they're just doing it for shits and giggles. They've been busted several times for faking their paranormal activity. I do not know how this show is still going. I really don't, because they're idiots. Do not watch that show. That Haunting in the Heartland, I tried to watch a couple episodes. You know, he's supposed to be some kind of rapper no one's ever heard of. I don't know if he's any good at it or not. But he's also supposedly, all of a sudden, he wants to be a film documentary director or whatever, but he sucks at it. Throughout the whole, each episode, you know, he just bullshits with the family or, you know, people who supposedly had experiences. And then at the very end, he'll do like 5 minutes worth of investigation. Like, dude, give me a little bit of history, then go into the investigation. I don't need to see a bunch of interviews and shit like that. Honestly, I don't care about, you know, someone's personal experiences. I want to see the evidence, the proof. So go directly to the investigation. But he doesn't. He spends the whole show, you're basically watching people's personal experience, talk about their personal experiences. Who fucking cares? So, this show sucks. I don't recommend it. The next one is Ghost Nation, which, you know, Grant took the Ghost Hunter name, is doing his own Ghost Hunters or whatever, which I don't like the crew on there whatsoever. But Jason Hawes and Steve and Tango, or Dave, they went and started their own show called Ghost Nation, which is great. You should check them out. They don't run from shit, and they actually investigate. Then you have Ghost Brothers, which is basically a clone of Ghost Hunters, except for they're black guys. Honestly, I try to give the show, you know, a good chance. But once you know, they're not taking it seriously. They're joking around too much. I don't mind a little bit of joking, but they act like they're not taking it seriously. And then, the other thing that irritated me was when I saw them, you know, supporting the black supremacist group called Black Lives Matter. That's when I was like, okay, I'm done. Anyone who supports a racist group, I don't care what color they are. Anyone who supports a racist group, I won't have anything to do with. So I definitely do not recommend Ghost Brothers at all. The next one, Kindred Spirits. Most of these are all on the Travel Channel, by the way. Kindred Spirits is Amy Bruni and Adam Berry. They originally are from Ghost Hunters. Now, the show, it wasn't bad. It was, and they were treating them like good spirits and bad spirits. There are no demons. They're just either good or bad. They might be angry or upset about something, and they can't, or they're frustrated. They can't get their message across. No one's listening to them. They can't talk to anybody in the living. And that's the way they were approaching everything. But then this last season, season 5, I think they're on season 5, was just plain horrible. They did this one episode where they claim that they manifested a spirit by just creating a story or whatever. Yet they're doing this right in front of the spirits that were already there. You know, and they didn't at one time acknowledge the fact that these spirits are probably just listening to what they're saying and then repeating it. They think they manifested something, which has been disproven several times. You can't manifest a spirit. It's not possible. It doesn't work that way. More than likely, it was one of the spirits that were already there, just copying what they were saying. Now, there's one other thing that I failed to mention that drives me nuts about these shows, is they all now have to have a psychic medium in them. Those who are true psychic mediums are extremely rare. The real deal is very rare, and 95% of the time they don't want to be known that they have that gift. It's like 1 in 3 million or so. You know, millions. It's in the millions. But yeah, it's very rare. And I think it's funny that every one of these shows now has to have a psychic medium in them, which I think is dumb. Because I guarantee you, most of these are not real psychic mediums. They're fake. And they're being spoon-fed information, and then they're going in the house and go, oh, I feel this spirit or that spirit or blah, 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 this is what's going on. Bullshit. Lies. Lying out their ass. Then you got a show called The Dead Files. And this is what I mean by the medium. The main guy is a cop. He's a cop, or supposed to be a cop. Him I don't mind. But the woman, the majority of the show is all about this woman that claims she's a psychic medium. And she's telling you what all's going on in the house. Bullshit. Terrible show. Don't watch it. Then you have Destination Fear. Now, they're kind of a clone of another show called Paranormal Lockdown. And I hated the main guy on that show because he does the same thing, you know, Zach from Ghost Adventures and his buddies do. Scream and holler, blah, 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 you know. Freaks out over it. And these guys off of Destination Fear do the same thing. Dakota is actually used to be a cameraman for Ghost Adventures, so go figure. Now they do catch some interesting paranormal activity, if it is paranormal activity. You don't know because half the time they're not taking the camera with them while they're, you know, the shit's going on. They're screaming, hollering, freaking out over every little thing. The only one that actually seems to want to check shit out is their friend Tanner, you know. The rest of the crew, and Chelsea's probably the worst. Again, she's only there for eye candy because she's a good-looking broad, but other than that, she don't need to be there. Dakota, you know, he claims he wants to, you know, do this, but then he's freaking out over every little thing. Alex does the same thing, their camera guy. Tanner's the only one who don't freak out too much. But towards the end of the second season, he started doing it a lot too. And they're just doing that for ratings and to get people riled up. The last one I'm going to talk about is called the Holzer Files. The first ghost hunter is Hans Holzer, supposedly. Now, you have three people. You have Dave, the bald guy. Then you got Shane, the tech guy. And then you have Cindy, of course, another psychic medium, which I don't believe in. It's bullshit. Mediums, very, very rare. So it's just kind of funny that they're all these shows are coming out with a psychic medium. It's just dumb. Anyway, her I can handle. Dave I can handle to a degree. He's alright too. I don't mind him. But the Shane guy, fuck that. That dude does not need to be on that show. He claims he's a paranormal investigator, but yet Dave's always sending him to the worst areas of the house, supposedly with a dark spirit in him. And he claims he feels bad in every single fucking room. You know, I hate that. That's the worst in any of these shows. Claiming that, oh, there's something dark here, I feel it, it's horrible, it's making me sick, blah, blah, blah. He does that every single episode. And he freaks out every single episode. Like he's jumping and running all the time, you know. I just got touched. Or some shit. Oh, something screamed at me. Oh, I saw something. He's running. Bullshit. He's not a paranormal investigator. Stop using him to investigate, because he's not. Cindy, listen, I don't believe in most mediums. You know, she claims she's hearing everything through this, you know, automatic writing and whatever. No, sorry, I don't buy it. They're feeding her full of crap, you know, for the show, and then she's repeating it. Dave, like I said, I don't mind Dave. I'm still not quite done with the second season yet, but they do catch some pretty interesting evidence. That's why I keep watching the show. Destination Fear, I I guess you can watch it, but they do have some evidence that's kind of interesting, or activity that they catch that's kind of interesting. If it's real activity, you don't know if someone's actually, talking like a couple of rooms over, and then fucking, because of the show, the type of show it is. It's too much like Ghost Adventures. So they could actually have people over there talking, and then they're freaking out and going, oh, it must be a disembodied voice. You just don't know. So, I mean, if it's real, it's really cool, but at the same time, if it's not, fuck them. So, take that show with a grain of salt. The Holzer Files is actually very interesting. I like the whole investigation part of it, and some of the evidence they catch is pretty neat. So I like that show, even though I don't believe in medium psychics, and I sure the fuck can't stand Shane. Now, as far as YouTube goes, there's only two channels I actually watch. I'm not gonna name drop all the channels that I know that they're just too much of amateurs. Some of them are actually friends with Oh My Gosh TV, which is one of the shows or channels I watch. I like watching Omar's channel, not his vlogs, but his regular channel where he's ghost hunting. Because he lets you know he's not a real ghost hunter, but he likes to go ghost hunting. Like, he's not a paranormal investigator. He just goes to see if he can catch anything, see what he can find. And he doesn't go in there disrespecting the spirits. He doesn't rile them up. He doesn't taunt them or provoke them, trying to cause trouble, make them angry or mad or anything. He just goes in there and tries to talk to them. Now, I don't care for the app he uses for his spirit box. I don't trust apps. I prefer the real spirit box. But other than that, it don't bother me. The other one I watch, which at first I didn't like them, but now I'm starting to like them. They just started doing something different and taking things a little bit more seriously. And that's Twin Paranormal. I actually like that channel. They're actually getting better at what they do. However, Nick, one of the guys on there, his name is Nick, he needs to fucking do something about his fucking hair. He just recently did something with his hair, and it just looks dumber than shit. He looks like an idiot. I'm not saying that to attack him. I just think it's a terrible look for Nick. It just is. Most of the other paranormal investigating amateur groups on YouTube, I absolutely do not like. And the reason why is because 90% of the time, they're just bullshitting throughout the whole investigation. Like, they're just sitting there talking. I know it takes hours. It could take hours before you catch something on camera or audio. But I don't care to watch you set up for like 2 hours and then sit there and bullshit the whole time you're supposed to be investigating, instead of actually asking the spirits questions and shit. It annoys the piss out of me. And they almost all the YouTube channels do that claim that they're paranormal investigators. The other thing about paranormal YouTube channels is the ones who supposedly are doing spirit box sessions with celebrities. Fuck off. No, you're not. That's all fake ass bullshit. Don't listen to that shit. They're not contacting celebrities. It's the dumbest shit ever. Don't watch them channels. Anyways, that's it. That's all I have to say about paranormal TV shows. Some of them you gotta be really careful about watching, because they do a lot of shady shit. Okay, let's get on to your B-movie reviews. Alright, movie-holics, let's get on to your B-movie reviews. This week I picked two that most people probably never heard of. The first one, you know, I'd never even heard of before, and then the second one I'd heard of, but I never got around to watching it. The first one is called The Boneyard. It was done in 1991. It starred Ed Nelson, Deborah Rose, and Phyllis Diller. There was no box office on this one. I'm not sure if it went straight to DVD or video or whatever, but there was no box office numbers on it. Now, the story is mainly about there's a woman who, a large woman, she decided to get out of the psychic scene. Apparently she's like this psychic medium or whatever, or clairvoyant, whatever. She got tired of helping the police. She got to a point where it just seemed like it was really gruesome for her or whatever, and just didn't seem to be helping, she thought. But one of the cops she worked with talks her back into helping him with this one particular case. He can't figure out. He got this old Japanese guy, and he's got 3 dead Japanese kids locked in this basement or some shit. I mean, they're barred up like in a safe, or, you know, prison cell or some shit that they found them in. I mean, they were locked up. Anyways, apparently the coroners can't quite figure out when they actually died. But the Japanese dude eventually commits suicide. She does get to watch this tape about the Japanese dude when they interviewed him, and he claimed some Japanese story about ghouls or whatever, and that it's been his responsibility, his family's responsibility, to keep them locked up and keep them away from the world, because they will try to trick you. They want to be fed like they're like some kind of zombie or cannibal or some shit. Anyways, during the movie, you know, they go to the morgue to investigate the 3 little children bodies or whatever. She starts having visions about these children were cursed and turned into ghouls, and they eat people. And she tries to help the coroner and the 2 cops that came with her. They end up getting trapped in the basement of an old hospital where they're performing the autopsies or whatever. They all get trapped down there, and while they're down there, you know, the little ghoul children are killing people and eating them and shit. They eventually end up killing a couple of them. Phyllis's character, one of the ghoul children, before they die, they stuff her mouth full of part of their body or goo or some shit, and it turns her into this weird looking Peter Jackson looking monster from the movie Dead Alive. It kind of looked like that. It was just dumb and retarded looking, but they eventually end up killing her too. She had a little dog, a poodle, and it ends up eating the goo and turning into one of these monsters too. A giant monster, almost like a werewolf variation of the poodle. And it takes forever, but they eventually blow it up, and that's the end of the movie. You know, it all ends well. You know, all three of the ghoul children are gone. They end up blowing up the big giant dog monster. Looked like a werewolf, kind of poodle werewolf. It was slow at first. It just took forever for the story to get going. But once they get to the morgue, it actually starts getting pretty fucking good. It's, as you know, a cheesy horror comedy, you know, from like the 80s. It's just, it's cheesy, but it's a fun cheese, you know. There's a difference between really bad cheesy and then there's fun cheese. This was a fun cheese, so it wasn't so bad once you get to the morgue. It was actually fairly I'm telling you, it's really slow at the beginning. I almost fell asleep, but once they get to the morgue, I was wide awake. You know, I was really wanting to see what was going to happen. So, special effects, they were all right. Actually, they weren't too bad, to be honest, even though they were kind of cheesy. I give them a 3. As far as the acting goes, the acting wasn't really all that great, to be honest. I give it a -3. It was okay. Phyllis Diller actually is the one who kind of carried things along. As far as story-wise, it was actually kind of interesting. It was a little bit different. It's not your normal, typical, like, zombie type movie. These were ghouls, not zombies. The big difference. So, yeah, it was a little bit different. I actually give the story a solid 3. It was actually pretty decent, what they came up with. Overall, it deserves a 3. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible. I give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Yo, I recommend it if you like cheesy horror comedy movies of the 80s. Not bad. The next one I watched, like I said, I'd heard of it before, but I'd never got around to watching it. And the only reason why I even heard of it is because it's a full moon feature. Now, Full Moon was big in the late 80s and early 90s. They did a lot of straight-to-home video movies. And they were actually really good, most of them. They were cheesy, but they were really good. And they didn't just do horror, they did sci-fi and fantasy too. But I really liked a lot of the Full Moon feature films. This movie's called Netherworld. It was done in 1992. And it starred Michael Bendetti and Denise Gentle. Now, the story basically is pretty much about voodoo and so-called voodoo black magic. Basically, Michael inherits his dad's fortune and his property, which is somewhere down south. I'm not sure, I can't remember where it said it was actually, like Louisiana or you know, Georgia or whatever. It had swampland in it. I know that much. When he shows up, he meets this weird attorney, strange dude, and then he meets the caretaker, which is a woman, and her daughter. Her daughter's there, which of course, you know, is a cute little blonde that he finds interesting. But the attorney hands him this book and his father's last wishes, supposedly. and he reads it, and his father mentions something about a woman that's in this bar that's across the way of the swamp river or whatever, and that it's kind of like a brothel, or you know, a whorehouse, and she's a voodoo priestess, and she has this particular magic, will bring the dead back to life, that kind of shit. And then it also, you know, turns bad people into birds or some shit. And he asked that his son learn this magic from this woman so he can come back to life. Have him bring him back to life. Which he finds a little bit strange, but he's intrigued because he starts having dreams about this woman. He sees her in his dreams. So eventually goes and finds her at this bar, which is actually, like I said, a whorehouse or brothel, whatever you want to call it. And he finds this woman, and surprisingly, she's not Haitian. She is white. She's a white woman. Anyway, she teaches him, supposedly, her magic, and then he decides he's going to do as his father asked. Now, the girl and her mother both try to warn him to stay away from the voodoo, but he does it anyway. The voodoo priestess tries to help him out or whatever to do it, and then come to find out, the father tricked not only him but the voodoo priestess, and she said that's not what it's supposed to be used for. They're not supposed to switch bodies, which is what the father was actually trying to do. The father wanted to take over his son's body and then have his son replace him in death. So he's going to take over his body and switch places with him. Because what I found strange was the boy had never met his father. It literally tells you that throughout the whole movie. He doesn't know his father, and then all of a sudden he's really eager to try to help his father and bring him back to life. I said, fuck that shit, he can stay dead. I'll take his shit and he can just stay dead. So I didn't get that at all, why he's so keen on helping his father and bringing him back to life. It was just dumb. Anyways, throughout the movie you see this voodoo priestess punishing bad people who come to the whorehouse or brothel, and it turns them into birds. And then some people that she affects with the spell or some shit ends up with like this little tiny feather in their hair. It's really weird. And it's like she's put a spell on him or something. The blonde chick shows up and she says she's in love with him, so she tries to help him come out of this death state he's in, or trance or whatever he's in, that his father's trying to keep him in. They don't switch bodies. In fact, throughout the movie you see this stone hand or whatever, you know, kind of like the thing off the Addams Family, and it's constantly turning these people into birds. It shows up and kills his father or whatever, or punishes him, whatever you want to call it. And of course Michael's character, the boy, the son, you know, he lives, and his father gets turned into this undead bird or whatever. You see him at the very end. He's keeping him in a cage, and that's the end of the movie. It was kind of strange. Now, voodoo is not necessarily all about black magic. It's kind of like a religion. Some elements of it could be used for darker purposes, of course. That's where it got its reputation as being a dark art when it's not. It's a religion, and most of it is not about dark magic. So anyways, this movie, as far as special effects go, it was alright. It was cheesy, of course. You know, it's full moon. The special effects were okay, though. They were decent, so I give it a solid 3. The acting was alright. It wasn't bad. It wasn't that great, but wasn't bad. So I give it a 3 as well. The story was unique. I hadn't seen a story like this. It was pretty bizarre. Even though you have voodoo type movies out there, this was kind of different than your normal voodoo type movie. So with it being unique and everything, I give it a solid 3. It was definitely interesting. It was different. Weird, bizarre, but interesting. Overall, this movie, I give it a solid 3. It was decent enough to watch. I recommend it if you're looking for a good horror flick to check out. Kind of like Tales from the Dark Side, you know, Creep Show, that kind of thing, or Tales from the Crypt, sorry, that kind of thing. I give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. You know, again, if you like the early or late 80s, early 90s cheese, you know, check it out. That's all I have for you this week. If you have any thoughts about what I said earlier about paranormal TV shows, please leave them down in the comment section down below. I'd like to hear about it. Especially if you've seen the Holzer Files. There's one thing I failed to mention. The Cindy woman, the medium on there, she is just, again, she's like Chelsea off of Destination Fear. She's just eye candy. A good looking woman, and she knows how to dress. You know, nice voice and everything, but that's literally the only reason why she's on there is eye candy. Almost all those paranormal TV shows has some bit of eye candy for the men. But yeah, if you have any, I'd like to hear your thoughts on those as well. You know, about the paranormal TV shows. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. As always, if you have any suggestions or you think I might like watching a particular type of underrated film you think is underrated from as far as a B movie goes, you know, leave your suggestions down in the comments section down below, and I'll get to them to reviewing them as soon as I can. So until next time, that's all I have for you this week. I told you you'd be told the truth, and you've just been told.